All right, ladies and gentlemen, time now to get some more exemplary women like we promised who have joined us tonight and call them up on stage.
Yes, and continuing with our focus on female protagonist, the new hero. Please put your hands together for none other than Khushbu Sundar, member, National Commission for Women.
All right, also calling up on stage, please put your hands together for Miriam Meisel, Director, Stiftung Bayern.
Guten Tag, Miriam, guten Tag. Please come on stage. Right, let me also now call upon stage another special guest from Germany, Julia Farr, football evangelist, Borussia Dortmund.
Head of Asia Pacific for BVB Dortmund. Very warm welcome to you. Also with us is Ayush Gupta, HR Head for Gale. Please get up on stage, sir. Thank you so much.
And to moderate this session, we have some double Nari Shakti again. We have with us TV9 Network's Sudha Sadanand and Neha Khanna, requesting both the ladies to please take the stage.
So some 4 more women's power, and I don't think that a panel can look this beautiful, really. I include you, Mr. Gupta, as well. I mean, of course. You know. So, if everyone can settle, Khushbu eppadi irkeenga? Nalla irkeenga?
Vanakkam, nalla irukken. Thank you.
All right. So, let's start with you, Khushbu. And considering that, you know, I always have called you, whenever I've spoken to you, as a child woman. You haven't really grown up that way, you know. But from a child artist who started out in Mumbai and from a home where the mother was the main support, emotional support, and a father who was not very supportive, with wonderful brothers around you. Tell us, what made you so strong as a little chut of a girl? We know the story about Hema Malini and how, you know, you've got to meet B.R. Chopra ji, etc. But what made you so strong to face the camera as such a little girl, Khushbu?
Hello and a very good evening to everyone here. And there's an echo. Yeah, I think what made me very strong is against every negativity, there's a positivity. There are always 2 sides of the coin. So when I see, as a child, when I saw my mother going through the kind of abuse at the hands of her husband, and I think that made me very strong, because I think as a child, it was very clear in my mind that I'm not going to grow up as somebody who's very, very submissive, who's going to be Hanji, Bilkul Sahi ji. Like Ravina said, kuch bhi ho jaye, mera pati Parmeshwar hai. So I was very clear right from my childhood that I'm not going to grow up into that abla nari. So I think, you know, in all the negative aspects, and that strength, of course, came to me from my mother, because she never wanted me to be what she went through. Right. So I think it was there with me, within me.
All right, okay.
All right, that's lovely to hear, Khushbu. Really, you are an inspiration for so many women out there. Let me now bring in some of the other lovely women that we have in our midst today. Miriam Meisel, if I could begin with you. You know, it's 2024. And as educated, independent, liberated women, we would ideally have liked to live in a world where we could take equality, gender equality, for granted. Absolutely. But unfortunately, right? I mean, it should be fundamental to human existence. But unfortunately, it's proven to be very elusive. Now, in your area, you work with a lot of young people. The question I want to ask you is, how do you sensitize them towards treating everyone, especially women, with a sense of equality? Honestly, has that been a challenge?
That's really a good question, and to be honest, it's challenging. It's still challenging I'm coming from the field of education, and I'm coming from the field we want to extend youth exchange, so give everyone a chance to go abroad. And this everyone to have a chance is really difficult, because you really have to focus on the needs of those who are underrepresented. And those are the ones who come from lower education, and those are often also the girls. So we try to really focus on their needs and helping them, that they say, I'm good enough to do exchange, for example. I'm good enough to take part in it. And this needs a lot of time to educate them.
All right, and Julia Farr, you look wonderful today. And before we get into the excellent work that you've done for Borussia Dortmund, what people would like to really know, a lot of questions from the audience who actually ambushed me and said, ask her, what made you fall in love with this beautiful game of football?
I would say the fact of being part of a team. I think football always connects people and unites people. And that makes it so special. I remember when I started playing the game myself, I was a very small girl, and back in the days, there weren't many opportunities for girls to play in a girls' team. So I started playing with boys in an all-boy team, and whenever we went somewhere for games, of course, everyone was looking at me, the only girl. But then, as soon as you are on the pitch and the game starts and kicks off, it doesn't matter anymore where you are from, who you are, or what you are. You just play the game, and that's what made me fall in love with it.
Superb.
That's amazing. Okay, Ayush Gupta is, of course, heavily outnumbered on this panel, as you can see. And as the only man on the panel, and since we're talking about Nari Shakti and he represents, the PSUs, the government sector, I'd say let's not miss out on this opportunity to put him on the spot. All right, Mr. Gupta, from newsrooms to boardrooms, I think we can all agree that we need many more women in decision-making and powerful roles. But unfortunately, the reality leaves a lot to be desired. The question I want to ask you is, we all know that it's still a huge challenge for women to smash the proverbial glass ceiling. What are organizations like yours, for instance, doing to level the playing field? And frankly, are they doing enough?
See, first of all, being the only man here is making me a bit nervous, and let me admit that. But going forward to your question, and rightly said, whatever we said that we are doing this thing and that thing, the reality remains that still the numbers are very few at the top, and a lot more needs to be done by each and every organization, and not just the organization, I believe by the society at large. Because if we have to see the results, it's not just one organization or one particular sector which we can do. All the stakeholders, be it the educational institutes, academic institutes, be it the family or the society, the family members, or the companies or the organizations, all have to come together to make sure that women will not only reach at the top level or the board level positions. The journey has to start from a very early stage when we are talking of admissions to the educational institutes. So for example, when we talk of an organization like GAIL, which is predominantly represented by 70% engineers. So unless we have a pool of engineers who are passing out from top IITs or the engineering institutes, the representation there of women passing out is still less than, say, 14 to 15%. So the pool itself at the entry level is getting limited, and because of which the progression or reaching to the top level gets limited. At an organizational level, many more programs like from an early stage mentoring to making sure a fair and equal opportunity is provided at each milestone in their career when they reach up to the top is really, really important.
All right. Khushbu, today I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi is one of the Prime Ministers that we have who has spoken appreciate it and respect Tamil like no one can. Do you agree? I mean, Sengol, talk about Sengol. He talks about how Tamil is the most ancient language. He talks about how the culture needs to be preserved. Every speech of his, he has this respect for Tamil. I want to ask you, you were one of the first heroines who goes from Mumbai and starts speaking Tamil like a native. I mean, she speaks the language better than I think a round of, look at Selva Ganesh there, you know, yeah, all the Tamils, you can't make out the difference. We tell our children, if she can learn it, you can learn it better. Khushbu, talk a little about it. I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, I've heard that Kamal and Rajni sir, everyone encouraged you that, pesuma, parvalla, vandudum.
See, if I speak Tamil very well, I would love to speak in Tamil, address this esteemed audience here in Tamil. But I don't know how many of you will understand, but irundhalum Tamil பேசுறதுக்கு ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய பெருமை வேணும். ஏன்னா நம்ம நாட்டுடைய மிக சிறந்த ஒரு மொழி, பழையமான மொழி, and அந்த மொழி சொல்லும்போது நான் இன்னைக்கு தமிழச்சியாக தமிழகத்துல வாழும்போது எனக்கு ரொம்ப பெருமையா இருக்கு, and which translates that though I belong to Mumbai, for me to come to a place called Tamil Nadu and make a home there and speak the oldest language on this planet, I take a pride in calling myself as a Tamilian. Having said that, if I've started learning Tamil, yes, I've had a great help from my co-stars. But I definitely would like to give the credit to my co-workers, especially on the sets. You know, my lightmen, my production boys, my dancers, my fight choreographers and the fighters, you know, because they are the ones I used to basically converse with in Tamil, and they gave me the encouragement that speak. Even if it's wrong, it's fine, we will correct you, we will not make fun of you, but you speak the language. I remember my very first day shoot for my first Tamil film, Dharmathin Talaivan, where I was paired with Prabhu sir and Rajni sir and Suhasini were paired together. It was a remake of Kasme Wade, where I played Neetu Singh, to make it very simple. And I went to the set and I was zero in Tamil, so I was conversing with Rajni. So the very first day I had shoot with everyone. And Rajni sir was speaking to me in Marathi, then all that, you know, rattling off in Marathi. I was so comfortable. And over the entire day while we were shooting, I was watching people where they were talking to each other and said, hey, vada, hey, poda, and all that. So I was like, okay, it means something which a lot of respect. And when Rajni sir was leaving, he said, Khushbu misaunit. And I said, poda. And the entire set just froze. And I'm like, okay, where did I go wrong? And then immediately Prabhu came forward and he said, you're not supposed to say poda. I said, why? He's saying it doesn't mean that you're saying with respect. It's in a very respectful manner. You say, okay, jao. And I'm like, okay. But Rajni sir was very gracious enough where he came, he patted my shoulder because he knew that I don't understand the language. So he patted my shoulder and he laughed and he said, it's okay, you will learn the language. So yes, my journey has been different, but I think I definitely would give the credit and to my driver, who was my driver then for a very, very long time. So I think I give the credit to all my co-workers more than my co-stars. I would give the credit to my co-workers for encouraging me to speak the language and for standing by me and tolerating my terrible Tamil that I spoke back then. So I think I owe it to them.
And just a little bit of clarity, you don't say poda to someone, you don't say it usually, you can say it to a child, but you don't say it to somebody who's older, who's much respected, you say ponga. Like in Bengali, you say Jan. So that's the difference. We follow that protocol when it comes to Indian languages. Neha.
All right, a fascinating discourse that about languages. I mean, you know, such a lovely reminder of the cultural diversity of this country. As they say, many Indias in this one India. All right, Miriam, let me come back to you. You know, there are a lot of youth exchange programs that you helm. You work with a lot of people who are immigrants, who come from different cultural backgrounds, low-income families, and also those who are differently abled. Now, when you add the female gender to the mix, does it get that much more challenging and complicated? What has that journey been like for you personally? And I'm sure that as an educationist, you've had a fabulous learning curve as well, working with all these young people.
Well, I think, as you said, it's a journey. And it's a journey we started, and it will continue. So I think the most important thing on this journey is that we do not stop to encourage each other. And I think this is the most important thing for the girls as well and for women, that we encourage each other. And we say, you can do it. I think that for men, this is a little bit different because they say, I can do it, I can do it. So, but we are sometimes a little bit more shy and say, oh no, I'm not that qualified and I can't do it because I'm a girl and I come from that background. But to challenge them really to say, you can do it and you are brave enough. And so we encourage the girls, for example, in special programs where we teach them in different sessions that also if they are coming from a migration background, from low-income families, they have the ability to achieve it.
All right, Julia, talking about football and how Pvt Ltd became such a household name, the transition of the journey, as it were. We remember in 2019, a banner which no one can forget is "Football is for everyone, women's team now." Right? And then 2 years later, the club delivered and Pvt Ltd was formed. Talk a little about that journey. How easy and how exciting was that, Julia?
You did your research. No, yeah, I think that was a very special journey that we started in Dortmund. We had always the men's football team. There was a women's handball team, but never a women's football team. And I think, yeah, the fans gave a bit of pressure to the club to look into this more curious, and that's what the club did. But then giving a bit of like background insights, the club was actually sitting together with the fans and consulted them and asked them, how should we do it? We had the chance, or we had the option to just buy another club that's already existing, that already has a structure, and just play and take over their players, their league, and everything. Or we could have bought a license to start a little higher. But then the fans said to us as well, well, we are Dortmund, we are Borussia Dortmund. We come from a region which is a working class region.
Right.
So it wouldn't be authentic if we go out and just start somewhere in the second Bundesliga or first Bundesliga already. So the fans decided with the club together that we go on a journey. We start from the lowest league. We start from the bottom and work our way up. And that's what we are doing. So everything that we are doing is very healthy, a healthy development, a healthy growth. And the fans are fully behind it. And that's what we wanted, to bring everyone together.
Fabulous.
All right. Mr. Gupta, if you could just indulge me for a moment. Before I come to you with my next question, I'd love to actually put a question to Khushbu, one of my favorites in this room. Khushbu, we've talked, of course, about how language has never been a barrier for you. But I want you to focus for a moment on sexism in the film industry and misogyny in celluloid. We'd like to believe we've come a long way. We have a lot of women-oriented movies being made. OTT platforms have revolutionized the entertainment industry, opened up a lot of doors. Ravina was here some time back talking about how she's in a way started her second innings and is getting to play some wonderful roles. But, just when you think that we've made progress, we've come a long way, along comes a film like Animal. And it reignites this whole debate about how we project women on the big screen. Now, I don't know what your personal view on that movie are. I have very strong views, which I will keep to myself for now. You're also a member of the National Commission for Women. So when we talk about domestic violence, when we talk about misogyny that's projected in celluloid, how do you see it? Have things changed?
All right. First thing I would like to tell in this room that I haven't watched the film Animal because that's not my kind of a film. So I haven't watched that film.
That makes two of us.
Okay, great. Well, yes, as a member of National Commission for Women, it becomes very difficult when we have the cases which talks about dowry, harassment. We still have cases about, though triple talaq is abolished, we still have a lot of cases which keeps coming in about triple talaq. The talaq being announced over a phone or through a letter or just by words at home. We do come across a lot of problems about like what Ravina was also discussing earlier about marital rape and any kind of abuse, whether verbally or sexually. And I think, you know, we talk about moving forward. Our Prime Minister has been talking about Beti Bachao and Beti Badhao, where the Prime Minister keeps talking about from women empowerment to women-led empowerment. It's very saddening to see that in many areas of our country, and especially a little lower states, we get a lot of complaints which talks about the basic problem of women. And this is something which we need to address. Fortunately, we at National Commission of Women, we have been given a free hand where we have been taking up cases very, very aggressively, and we have been working on it. But as far as the mindset goes, I mean, if a film like Animal continues to bring in moolahs, bring in as one of the biggest box office grossing film, then we really need to think about the mindset of the people who go and watch such films. What about them?
Couldn't agree more. Because these movies are blockbusters.
Yes, and they are blockbusters. Even before that, we had a major issue with Kabir Singh. And which was in Telugu, it was Arjun
Same
Reddy.
director.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't blame the director because I think for him, it's the success which is going to count. But I am talking about if there is something which is there out on a public forum where we talk about gender equality, we talk about equal respect to women, talking about her dignity, talking about how she should be projected and how she should be respected. And yet you come across a film like Animal and people throng to go and watch these kind of films. And they're all youngsters. They are men, they're all youngsters, they're educated youngsters. We say, oh, we love the film. And I'm like, guys, what's going on in your mind? I mean, I wouldn't want my girls to watch that film. And my girls did go and watch that film because they wanted to know what is it about. They came back and said, Amma, please don't watch that film. My girls warned me, don't go and watch that film. So I think the mindset of the film goer, the mindset of the people who buy these tickets time and again, because you have a lot of repeat audiences in this movie, in these kind of films. So we need to understand that mindset before we talk about the change in a society. So what we show in films is what is actually happening in the society. So the mindset of the people who watch these kind of films need to change. And that is really, really worrying me as to if films like Animal, with so much of misogyny, what you see in the film, if that film is doing so well, where are we heading?
I think that's a very valid point.
Very valid.
We need to look inwards. We can, you know, raise objection to these kind of films being made. We can, you know, object to some of India's biggest stars acting in these movies. But what about those hordes of people who flocking to the theaters and making these movies mega hits?
Absolutely. And moving right away from that kind of a thought, we at TV9, we believe in wow, Mr. Gupta. Wow, we onboard women. And that's an initiative we seriously think about, we adhere to day in and day out. According to you, Mr. Gupta, much like TV9, I mean, some may say it's baby steps, but let me tell you that they walk the talk when it comes to that. How does women at decision-making positions help an organization achieve better? Not achieve their goals, but achieve their goals better, Mr. Gupta?
See, women at the boardroom, when they come there, it's not just, they are not just helping the organizations to deliver better in terms of the quality of decision making, in terms of the diversity of the thoughts and the ideas which they bring at the board level. They're not just doing well for themselves, they're doing better. They also become the inspiring role models for the generations to come within and outside the organization. So this is the biggest achievement or the highlight, I would say. When women come at the top, they are not just doing well for themselves, they are doing well for the entire generation which they are following. They are looking forward to, and they learn and get inspired. And I believe that is what the theme of this year's International Women's Day also is, inspiring inclusion. So that is where they inspire others and bring them forward to take leadership roles.
What a wonderful response that is. And on that note, many thanks to all of you. I think it was very brilliant and riveting session. Thank you, Khushbu. Thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you, Julia. Mr. Gupta, it was a pleasure. Please give it up for the lovely panel, ladies and gentlemen.
More power to these lovely women.